Good morning, everyone. We are at the UGA Extension Office with Kristen Thomas, and we are going to get educated this morning to the pollinator census. I'm like most people, I have not a clue, but Kristen is going to educate us on the importance, the value of, and first off, Kristen, what is your title here at UGA Extension Office?
I am the Program Assistant for Agriculture and Natural Resources in Paulding County. I also serve as the Master Gardener Program Coordinator.
And you've been here for how long?
Since 2020 in this role, but I've been Master Gardener since 2016.
And we're going to learn about the pollinator census.
Yes.
And you actually have a garden here that we're going to take a stroll through, and you're going to educate us on the value of all of this, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, you ready to get started?
Let's do it.
Join us. Okay, so we are here in the middle of what, a pollinator garden?
This is our pollinator garden. It's designed and maintained by our fabulous master gardeners here in Paulding County. And this is our nectar space. It provides a early spring and summer nectar source for our pollinator friends. This section right here, it's got some herbs, it's got some things that we grow for cut flowers. And over here, it looks wild, but it's more of like a cottage garden. And everything here serves a purpose to create a pollinator habitat in here at the office.
Now I notice it's broken down in sections.
Yep.
And so I take it each section serves a different purpose, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so what would this section here be?
We use this for cut flowers, and there's this is black and blue salvia. This is a hummingbird favorite, and hummingbirds are actually a pollinator. We have some herbs, perennial herbs that we like to put in cut flower arrangements. They also serve as, sometimes a host plant for some of our butterflies and bees. We have Monarda, which is a favorite of pretty much all of our pollinators. In the nectar garden, we have, this is like the star of the show out here in the early spring. It's a red hot poker. It's a favorite of hummingbirds. It's got a lot of nectar. It's a big, beautiful plant. And it's one of those early spring bloomers that they're looking for when they come out of overwintering. They need that nectar source pretty much immediately. Big lantana, which is a good butterfly plant. Blooms really well through the heat of the summer. And then over here, it looks wild, but there's a lot of pollinator perennials here, and that's fabulous because you don't have to replant this every year. And if you drive by in the fall or the winter, it might look a little rough, but we like to leave all the seed heads for the birds and create a space for our pollinators to overwinter in the dead stems.
Okay, now you just mentioned that during the winter, so a pollinator garden, it serves a purpose year-round?
4 seasons. So
okay.
a good pollinator space will have a food source all 4 seasons. It will have a water source, so you see our butterfly peddler over there. We have a native bee house for our native bees, solitary nesting bees, and it's a lazy gardener's dream because you don't have to do anything to it. Just leave it. You don't even have to mulch it because some empty bare ground with no mulch is actually ideal for some of our butterflies.
Really?
Yeah.
So what qualifies as a pollinator garden?
As long as you have those 4 items, a shelter space, a place for them to lay their eggs, a water source, and a nectar source, you're pretty much off and running with a pollinator space.
So anyone can have one of these at home?
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be this big. It doesn't have to be this well designed. It could be a pot with 4 plants in it.
Really?
And it's that simple. Yeah, you can do this on a balcony. You could do it on a tiny patio. Anybody can create a pollinator habitat at home.
Okay, now you mentioned that the pollinator census.
Yes.
That, explain to everyone exactly what that is, the importance and the significance of it.
So it started out as the Georgia Pollinator Census in 2019. We've now expanded, and it's called the Great Southeast Pollinator Census. We've added South and North Carolina. We've also added Florida this year. So it's now a multi-state citizen science project.
Oh, wow. So what do we benefit, what do we learn from a pollinator garden at this level?
So when you do the pollinator census, it's a citizen science project, and we ask that anybody can do it. You can do it with no knowledge of gardening,
Really?
no knowledge of entomology. We do it a lot with kids. We did a pollinator stewards training with 10 teachers last summer, and as a result, we had 1,200 kids participate at school in the pollinator census. So it's a thing we're trying to get into the school. So we could go and you count pollinator visits on one plant for 15 minutes. That's all you do.
Now, what's a pollinator visit? Explain that.
Every time you have a bee or a butterfly, a fly, a moth, sometimes even a hummingbird, every time they visit this plant, you create a tally mark and you just add all those up and you upload them to the website. And they take all of that information and they track trends. Is our pollinator population increasing? Is our pollinator population decreasing? And it's just to create an awareness that, you know, if you go out in your yard and you count 5 butterfly visits in 15 minutes, hopefully you would stop and think, like, what am I doing wrong? Or what can I do different to attract more of our pollinators? And, you know, in Paulding County especially, or our agricultural counties, it's really important. We have a farm gate value of $45 million here in Paulding County. So that's a lot of people that count on our pollinators to get their job done and create, you know, that for their families. So if we start to see the trend where they're dropping off, you know, maybe we should reevaluate what we're doing. And it's also, especially with kids, to let them know that not all bugs are bad, or not all bugs are gross. You know, my son is 6 and he thinks everything's a pollinator and he stops. He's like, is this a good bug or a bad bug? So we want to create that awareness in not only kids, but our adults as well.
So anyone can have this at home. Doesn't have to be this great of scale.
No, it could be, like I said, a small pot, which is something we're trying to do with Keep Paulding Beautiful, is create these mini pollinator gardens that we can share with schools and libraries and our fire departments to show how easy pollinator stewardship can be.
So we do have some of these at some of our schools?
Not yet, not
Okay.
yet. We're getting there. Some of our teachers have created pollinator gardens already because that model of a school garden fits the school year so much better than, say, a vegetable garden. But yeah, pollinator space is creating pollinator space is a great way to you know, get into gardening, because it can be easy. It can be super easy.
On the pollinator census, how are we doing?
So we've seen some trends. We've actually seen since 2019 an increase in pollinator spaces throughout Georgia. And now what we're working towards is creating a pollinator corridor. So it's like creating a highway for these pollinators to kind of travel interstate by creating these interlinked pollinator habitats throughout all those states.
Really?
Yep.
So you mentioned
Slowly
a
but surely.
pollinator interstate.
Kind of, yeah.
So the pollinators, they actually have a route that they. Okay, now I do have a question as far as seasonal. Okay, butterflies are in the spring and summer, and the bees are in the summer. You mentioned that year round. What is benefiting from this garden in December, January, February?
A lot of our native bees actually will overwinter in the hollowed out stems of some of our flower plants. And like, oh, hello. So you can see, like, they'll actually lay their eggs here over winter. And then that's why having that early spring pollinator or nectar source is so important, because when they emerge, they need to eat right away.
Okay.
Just like you and I, we wake up and it's time to eat. Same for our bees. And we leave a lot of the leaf litter as well, because a lot of our butterflies and moths will overwinter in leaf litter. And so, you know, if you're out there with your backpack blower blowing all those leaves off, you're actually destroying some of that overwinter habitat for some of our pollinators.
Wow, I did not know that. And I'm sure most of our viewers don't know that. Thank you so much for taking the time to share the beautiful garden with us and to educate us. And, you know, everyone do your part. To, you know, if you haven't got engaged in this at home, you know, plant those flowers. If you have any questions, come see Kristen here at the UGA Extension Office. She's located right here on West Memorial Drive in Dallas, and she can answer all of your questions. And, you know, everybody, hey, it's unity in community. I mean, we can get this done together. So thank you for taking the morning with us. I really appreciate it. I know you guys have. And stay tuned, and we will learn more as time goes on. So thank you, Kristen.
No problem. Thanks, John.